Good evening, everyone. Yeah, just 2 minutes. Can you see the full screen? So please let me know. Yeah, is it clear? Can you hear my voice? Can you see the full screen? Okay, let me know how many of you attended this session. Only 13. So I want to share one thing. So we created Telegram channel especially for students who joined this mains answer writing program. So in that Telegram channel from now onwards we are going to share the best answer and some clips from the some presentation. Okay, like for example some students they are good at drawing maps, some students they are good at drawing flow charts, using flow charts or using some diagrams. Okay, so we are going to share that in that Telegram channel for sure from today onwards. I hope many of you had already joined that Telegram channel, and we're also going to post updates regarding what are the upcoming events and when the Zoom meeting it is going to be held for different batches also in that Telegram channel. So first of all, let me know how many of you had answered this modern history week 3 questions. So one thing I want to say here is, so 10th batch students also joined this session. For this 10th batch students, tomorrow I am going to take class on Zoom at 7 p.m. Okay, but if you want to hear this class, you can also hear. So every week there will be 2 classes, one will be on Sunday and one will be on Monday. And for Sunday we are going to take class for the remaining batches, and for 10th batch we are going to take class on Monday at 7 p.m. So if there is any inconvenience to you, so please let me know in the comment box or in the chat box here. So already we shared 2 best answers I think yesterday in that so-and-so Telegram channel. Yes, it will be recorded, Abdul. Okay, how many of you answered all these 6 questions of this modern history week 3? Let me know fast, time is very much precious. And please keep a water bottle beside you and a paper and pen to scribble some important points. So how many of you answered? Ashwini, yes. Revan, me. Sai Shiva Kumar, yes. So only 3. Only 3 wrote all these 6 questions of this week. And how many of you attempted essay? Last week essay. Okay, Abdul. So how many of you attempted last week essay, and this Sunday we gave you case study. I'm not asking about today's case study, but I'm asking about last Sunday's essay. So how many of you attempted? Raven, me, Ria, I have sent ancient history batch 10. Okay, Ria, actually I didn't check the answers of yesterday and today's. I have to check them. So how many of you attempted this week's essay? Okay, let it be. So let's start our session. So in this session we are going to seek modern history week 3 questions, and we're also going to see last Sunday's essay at last. Okay, is it fine? So first of all, let me ask you one question. Okay, so the first question of this week is 36th question. So the social religious reformers of the 19th to 20th century aimed at modernization rather than westernization. Discuss. So how many of you felt that this question is hard? So how many of you felt this question is hard, and how many of you didn't find answer for this question in your Bipin Chandra or spectrum? So please raise hands. So because of this, I can understand your level of understanding of subject. So how many of you felt that this question is difficult? Little ma'am, not hard. Okay. Raven says me ma'am. So if you have gone through this Bipin Chandra or either through the spectrum, yes, you will be coming across the social reform movements. So you have to understand what was the reason why these social reformers they came up with these reform movements. For example, you can talk about sati, you can talk about untouchability, you can talk about child marriages and video demarriages. So these were some important movements that happened during this time. So why these social reformers? For example, Raja Ram Mohan Rai, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, they focused to abolish these things that were present in that period. So why? So what might be the reason? So what is your opinion? Let me know fast. Okay, and one more question I want to pose here is, what is difference between modernization and westernization? So how many of you know what is the difference between modernization and westernization? So what exactly is the difference between modernization and westernization? So please let me know. Ashwini says modernization is updating with modern technology things. Yes, what is westernization? Redmi Note says modernization means to update technology. Yes, of course. Westernization means culture from. It's incomplete answer. Westernization is sub process of like Western culture. Actually, this westernization is sub process of modernization. Yeah, I will tell you first what is the difference between modernization and westernization, and we'll understand how our socio-religious reformers they focused on modernization but not westernization. So if you talk about modernization, yes, we are going to update ourselves with modern technology. But westernization means simply imitating them. Simply we are imitating in this westernization, but in the modernization, yes, we are updating ourselves with modern technology. So it's a basic difference. And this question says that yes, socio-religious reformers, they came up with number of movements during this 19th 20th century, and those movements which focused on modernization but not on westernization. Yes, this is exactly true. Yes, they focused on modernization but not westernization. So if you're talking about number of freedom fighters, so if you see, there were like middle class, educated, and some were lawyers, etc. So yes, after middle class, they got some education from the other countries. Yes, they observe the things which are present, which are going on in the developed countries. And they want to come up with those same ideas in our India such that we also going to become developed. So because of this, yes, these are some important reasons, that is education, and here many people they went for abroad to get education, and after returning to India they want to implement them, but they just not want to simply imitate the Western culture, but especially they want to focus on removing of inequality and especially some social evils like sati, child marriages, okay, etc. And just they want to make the society developed society. So this thing that you can write in introduction. So introduction you can write about why these social religious reform movements happened in India during 19th to 20th century. So this is a simple introduction, and whenever you are understanding the concept, so just should not blindly read the statements given in your book. So just think about that. So whenever you are feeling bored, close the book and try to understand why they came up with these religious movements. So what was the use for them? So in this way you have to think yourself, and if you're thinking yourself and if you're trying to dig deeper into the topic, yes, your answers will going to be like excellent answers, because you're not just writing what you have read, but you're writing what you analyzed and what you understand. So this perspective which is going to be seen by examiner in your answer papers. Correct? So now let us try to see how can you write introduction for this so and so question. So you can name some various reformers during this 19th 20th century in India. For example, Raja Ram Mohan Rai, Dayanand Saraswati, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, etc. Okay, actually they don't want to imitate the Western culture, but what are the old traditions that are present in India? For example, social evils like sati, child marriages, polygamy, that is one male will be marrying like more than two females, and female infanticide, that is female feticide. So if they know that the fetus which is female means, they will be going for aborting that. Okay, so regarding that, now at present we have Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act, and we came with recent amendments to that also. So in this way also you can add current affairs here. And this one here is by adopting the new way of life, especially they want to focus on the development in the society. So in this way you can write a simple introduction which should be not more than 50 to 60 words in introduction. So are you following? And now if you see the body part, so how can you address the body? So this body will be our main answer. So in body you have to write about, so what is the aim of these social religious reformers? Yes, they want to replace the old traditions that are present with the new values, okay, such that will be helpful for development of the society. And even especially if you're talking about social reformers like Swami Vivekananda, they just does not focus on westernization, but they focused on modernization. So how we can say that so and so reformers, they focused on modernization instead of westernization? For example, here Swami Vivekananda, he focused on Vedas. He said that back to Vedas. And actually it's Raja Ram Mohan Rai, so he focused on social service especially. Correct? And he also gave the great respect to our Western way of thinking, and even he also have respect on Vedas and as well as Upanishads. Okay, so even though they respect this Western culture, but they also have respect on our Vedas, Upanishads, etc. Correct? And next one here is, especially these people, they were against some social evils like sati, adultery, polytheism, untouchability, child marriages, etc. And they mainly focused on these things, but not the Western culture. So in this way you can write your body. At least you have to incorporate 4 to 5 points and take some examples of this social reformers. And I came up with just 3 persons here like Swami Vivekananda, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, and Raja Ram Mohan Rai, but you can also add like 4 to 5 examples to enrich the quality of your answer and to get more marks. So this is up to you. And here the word limit is 250. So here examiner, he will be expecting at least 3 to 4 social reformers, and you have to give the reasons why we are focusing on modernization but not westernization. And if you are seeing this conclusion part, how can you conclude? So in the evolution of modern India, the reform movements of 19th 20th century have made a very significant contributions. Yes, during this 19th 20th century, yes, there was number of social reform movements, and even I will be giving you some examples like education for girls. So there were a number of schools established, and even universities, and even we focused on like widow remarriages. So at that time here, because of Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, what are the recommendations he gave? So based on that, here Britishers, they also came with the law on this widow remarriages. Correct? And we can also saw that abolition of sati which happened. So these were some important events that happened in this modern history during this 19th 20th century, and because of the role of the social reform movements. And actually these people, okay, they stood for democratization of our society, and they want to remove some superstitions and some customs and they want to spread enlightenment in the society, and finally that helps for the development of a rational and modern outlook of India. So in this way you can end your answer with a positive note. So do you have any doubts? Can you add any more points here? So please let me know your points in the chat box. So can we add any points? Ashwini asking that why ma'am there is no class in YouTube. So actually we discontinued Hindu from last 4 days. Yes, I was emotionally connected with this Hindu, but finally we said end to this Hindu analysis. Yes, can you add any more points? Yes, Ria, we can say this age can be said as a golden age. So we can't say it is as a golden age because at that time we were under British rule. So we can't say British rule it is a golden age, correct? So we can't do that, and don't do this mistake. So any doubts so far? Can we add any more points? Yes, Gupta period is called as golden age but not British period. So can we add any more points? So can anyone did more research on this topic? Can you tell me about some important social reform movements that happened in India during this 19th, 20th century? Any more examples from your side? Yes, we can say age of reforms. Muslims, Sikhs, Parsis also did reforms. Okay. So can you name any one of them? Yes, Muslims are always did some reforms. Like education reforms, yes, Mahendra. Muslims, Wahhabi movement, good, Ashwini. Yes, next. I'll always welcome thoughts from you students. Sikh Nirankaris, Namdaris, okay. Shall we move on to next question? Is it clear or do you have any doubts? Shall we move on to next question? Okay, next 37th question is peasant movements of the 20th century in India were deeply influenced by ongoing struggle of national freedom. Discuss important features of these movements. So this question which is focusing on peasant movements. So who are these peasants? Peasants are nothing but farmers. So peasant movements of 20th century in India were deeply influenced by ongoing struggle. So here the key word is 20th century. I didn't ask about 19th century. So here 20th century means we can talk about peasant movements after 1914. After 1914, so what are the peasant movements are there? We can call them as 20th century movements. For example, Champaran Satyagraha, for example, Kheda Satyagraha, and also Bardoli Satyagraha. So these were some important peasant movements of 20th century. So before this 1914 also there were number of peasant movements that happened. But the question asking about 20th century. So first of all I want to ask you one question. So what are the reasons for this peasant movements? Either it may be before Gandhian era or after Gandhian era or before 1914 or after 1914. So what might be the reasons? So what do you think about this peasant movement? So what might be the reasons? So let me know fast. What are the causes for this peasant movements? Okay, I'm getting replies. Operation of Zamindars. Okay, Ashwini, lifestyle. What exactly lifestyle means, Ashwini? Ashwini says betterment of peasants. Okay. Yes, indigo cultivation is also one of the important reason. Yes, huge taxes. So still, I am getting good responses today. You are so active. Abdul says exploitation of peasants in all ways. So all ways means what, Abdul? Peasants' upgradation of economic and political developments. Still, and English education. So how English education had impacted peasants? Let me know, please. Let me note. Western domination. Okay, so because of this Western domination, that led to increasing of taxes. I know that. So please be specific. Make India as a raw material producers and import finished goods. Actually, that led to economic drain of our country, Mahendra. Next, tax burden, yes. Still any more new points? Okay, so please make a note. So first important reason for this peasant movements is peasant atrocities. So under this peasant atrocities, we can talk about huge taxes, high rents, illegal levies on farmers, and arbitrary evictions and unpaid labor. So these were the reasons for this peasant movements. And the second important reason here is massive losses for Indian industries. So what happened? So there were indigenous cottage industries that were present at that time. But what happened? What are the raw material that present in India? So that is taken to this European countries. And because of that, what happened? We started importing this finished goods. So because of this, that led to heavy losses on these industries. Finally, that led to ruin of our traditional industries, and as well as other small industries which are present in India. So because of that, what happened? There was some change of ownership regarding this land and overburdening of agrarian land which happened, and finally that led to massive debt. So because of this massive debt, what happened? So these farmers, they started selling their lands. And next one here is because of policies of Britishers. Okay, because of unfavorable policies of these Britishers. For example, economic policies of Britishers, and these economic policies of Britishers, they try to protect landlords, they try to protect money lenders, but those policies, they are unfavorable to these peasants or farmers. Okay, that led to exploiting of peasants. So these were the three important reasons for this peasant movements in India. So I hope it is clear. So if you have any doubts, so please let me know. Okay, no doubts. So introduction, what can you write? So introduction, you can write about peasant movements in 20th century. Yes, your question says that peasant movement in this 20th century, so how it has influenced, okay, influenced by this ongoing struggle of national freedom. So you can say, and you can give some examples of peasant movements of 20th century, as I said, Champaran Satyagraha, Geda Satyagraha, Mopila Rebellion, and as well as Bardoli Satyagraha. And you have to remember the years. And one point I can say is, please try to make a map here, and you have to locate where was this Champaran Satyagraha happened, and Keda Satyagraha, Bardoli Satyagraha. So it will help to gain at least half or 1 mark extra from the examiner. So you have to focus on this, right? So introduction, you can write about peasant movements. So peasant movements in 20th century, yes, they influenced by the national freedom struggle. Okay, so in this way you can give some examples of this, and you can also write about what are the reasons for this peasant movements also in the introduction. And your introduction should be short, it should not be more than 70 words. And if you're talking about body, so we have to write about how these peasant movements are influenced by this national movement. So first one here is, if you're talking about some important movements, they always linked with the national struggle which was happening at that time. So for example, if you're talking about areas where this peasant movements happened, for example, you can talk about Gujarat, okay, you can talk about some areas like Kerala, okay, where this popular rebellion which happened, and you can talk about Punjab, UP, etc. And these peasant movements, they had become this regions for this national struggle later on, okay, for example Punjab, Kerala, UP, etc. And next one here is the spread of this national movement created an initial condition which required for the emergence of peasant struggle. Yes, what happened because of the spread of this national movement? Okay, at that time that already created some initial condition, and with that condition, yes, that led to the emergence of this peasant movements. For example, you can talk about civil disobedience movement at that time. And next one is new phase of growth of peasant movements which happened after this 1937. So after this 1937, yes, that led to a new phase of growth in this peasant movements. So what happened at that time? Okay, if you're talking about by the end of this World War II, so here there was some negotiation regarding the transfer of power which mainly discussed. And next one here is they also focused on anticipation of freedom. So because of all these things, yes, this peasant movements which entered into a new phase after the end of this World War II. And at that time there was also demand for the abolition of this zamindari system, and they demanded for this Kisan Sabha. So that led to the changes in our peasant movements, and we can say these peasant movements, they have been influenced from this national freedom struggle. Okay, so in this way you can write your body, and you can write many more examples, and you can draw map, okay, such that it will be helpful for improving your presentation also. So what can you write in conclusion? So here after writing some examples, you can say that thus peasant movements played a significant role in helping attain independence. Even in the post-independence period also, yes, we are having some peasant movements, and you are trying to make their lives better for farmers and as well as agriculture. So recently our government of India passed these 3 farm laws. So because of this, there were a number of movements which happened throughout the country, and finally those laws, they had been withdrawn by the government. And you can also add this current affairs in the conclusion part. So do you have any doubt? So Ashwini says, please repeat the first cause. Because of high atrocities, because of huge rent, and the farmers, you are not to be paid. You can talk about thin Kathiya system, okay, that led to this Champaran Satyagraha, and these farmers, they had been exploited because of high taxes. Okay, do you have any more points to be added here? So can you add any more points? Can you add any more points here? Do you have any doubt? Okay, shall we move on? Okay, next question is our 38th question. There were some common characteristics of tribal uprisings, even though they were separated from one another in time and space. Discuss. So this question is about tribal uprisings. So what are the questions I am giving in this series? So those are the very important topics. So please try to make a notes on that. So till now we discussed about peasant movements, and we discussed about social reform movements. So there is a high possibility of getting questions from these so and so topics where we are giving questions. So please try to make your own notes regarding that, such that it will be very helpful to fetch a good marks and to have a notes beforehand before going into examination hall, because you should not think much in the examination hall, because you are not going to have enough time there. So here let me know again what are the reasons for this tribal uprisings. So let me know types of tribal uprisings and what are the reasons for this tribal uprisings. Yes, Sai Shiva says frontier tribal and mainland tribal. Yes. So what is the cause for this frontier tribal uprising and mainland tribal uprising? So let me know fast. Yes, there is a lot of difference between this frontier tribal movements and as well as mainland tribal movements. So what is the difference? Reasons, Ashwini says Britishers' reforms of land. Okay, so it is the reason for either frontier or mainland. Ashwini. Sai says reasons influx of foreigners, foreign forest acts. So this is the reason for which uprising, Sai? Mainland. Okay, for frontier. Only these two people are active, Sai and Ashwini. What happened to others? And Abdul also active. Mahendra, okay. Only I am getting replies from only from four students. So what happened to other people? So some students of 10th batch also joined here. So I heartily welcome you students for this session. So please try to interact with me, or else this session is going to be boring. So try to make the session more interactive so that you can gain more knowledge. So frontier reasons, they just want autonomy. Yes, correct, Sai. And Ria says tribal were reduced to being landless agriculture. Yes, this is also one reason for the mainland actually. So let me know fast what are the reasons for this frontier tribal movements and mainland tribal movements. I am repeating the same question. This is the 5th time I think so. TS says interference in their social customs. Yes, it is also one of the reason regarding this mainland and as well as frontier. Sai says shifting cultivation is getting dropped. Can be a reason. Yes, in frontier areas especially. So frontier areas means the areas which comes into especially northeast region, and mainland means in our mainland. But these frontier people, they are fighting for to get the autonomy, and because of Forest Rights Act etc., they mainly started this protest for getting autonomy. So because of that only Britishers gave autonomy in this region of this northeastern region. So because of this, especially till now also we have faced some issues regarding boundary between Arunachal Pradesh and other states, and even especially state sharing boundary with Assam. And we can see that thing will be seen always in the news every month. Okay. If we are talking about this peasant movements, so peasant movements had been, these tribal uprisings. So these tribal movements are normally two types of these tribal movements. So first one is mainland tribal movements and second one is frontier tribal movements. So actually there was some different reasons for this tribal movements in the mainland and as well as frontier. So especially these frontier tribal movements, they are demanding autonomy. Okay, they are mainly in the favor of political autonomy for those so and so areas, and they are not regarding the forest based. So forest based reasons that we can see in this mainland tribal movements. And if you see, for example, we have Kasi uprising, we have a home revolt, okay, Kuki revolt, etc. So these were the examples for these frontier movements. And if you come to the mainland, the important reason was here land settlements of Britishers. For example, Zamindari system, Jagirdari system, Raitwari system. So because of this land settlements of the Britishers, that led to this mainland tribal movements. And next one is, whatever the laws they came up, they are also disrupting their social fabric. And tribals, they lost their land, and even tribals, they went into indebtedness. Okay, they lost their forest rights because of the laws came up by the Britishers. So for example of this mainland tribal movements, you might heard about this Chaur uprising, Kol uprising, Santal rebellion, Bale revolt, etc. So these were some examples of this mainland movement, okay, mainland tribal movements. So this thing you can write in your introduction simply. So if we're talking about these tribal movements, so tribal movements under these Britishers, they were most frequent, and there's separate chapter in your spectrum regarding this peasant movements, regarding this tribal movements, and you have to remember the tribal movement, which area, year, and the person who led that movement. So that person will be also very important from your prelims point of view. So there is separate chapter, try to make a table, okay, like so movement in which state, which tribe, and you have to see the year and important leader, what are their demands. So in this way try to make the notes, that notes will be very useful for your prelims revisions, and there will be like you can get match the following questions also from this tribal movements and peasant movements. So this is important from your prelims. And the tribal movements, they can be categorized into mainland tribal movements and as well as frontier tribal movements. So this frontier revolts, which are mainly seen in this northeastern part of India, because this northeastern part they will be having mostly hilly regions, right? So whenever Indo-Australian plate, which mainly moved towards northward and hit this Eurasian plate, that led to our formation of Himalayas. And if you see in this northeastern parts, we can see like there are number of hills or hilly areas are seen, and in these hills they were inhabited by the tribal people, and you can see the lot of concentration of this tribal people in this northeastern region, and they are having a unique culture also. And if you see the body, so what can be written in this main part of your answer? So you have to write about what are the factors for this tribal movements or tribal revolts. So as I said, that is for example the mainland land settlement system of Britishers, and because of losing of rights by the tribal people, and even tribal people they lost their lands because of indebtedness. For example, you can write about Chor uprising, Coal mutiny, and as well as Santal rebellions, Bill's revolt, etc. in that mainland tribal revolts. And the frontier tribal revolts you can talk about, they are mainly having demands regarding this political autonomy. They are not asking anything regarding the forest rights. And you can write some example like Ahom uprising, Kuki revolt, etc. And if you're talking about what are the characteristics of these tribal revolts, so the main question here, it is asking about the demand of the question. It is about asking what will be the characters. So what were the characters of this tribal uprisings? So if you are talking about tribal uprising characteristics, so there are 4 important characteristics. First one is not all outsiders were seen as enemies. Only their enemies will be these Britishers and as well as money lenders. And the normal people who are living in their surroundings, so they will be not their enemies. So their enemies will be only this money lenders and as well as Britishers. So they are having a very much clarity regarding this, who are their enemies. And next one is against foreign government, against the British government. Okay, so what are the laws they are coming up? Okay, so they are against our British government because they are imposing a lot of laws. So because of these laws, they are losing their rights and they are losing their livelihood, and they are feeling insecure. For example, they also came with Arms Act. So India should not carry any arms, but these tribal peoples, they have to carry arms for their safety and security because they will be living in the forest. So this forest will be inhabited by these tribals and even some other dangerous wild animals. So if they want to protect themselves from these wild animals, yes, they have to use arms for sure. But because of this Britishers Arms Act, yes, people, they are feeling insecure. And next important one is Messiah-like figures. So these tribal movements, they are led by one leader. Okay, and next one is technologically backward. So actually, what are the weapons they are using? They are not as much advanced compared to these Royal Enfield guns of these Britishers, right? So here these are some important characteristics of this tribal revolts. So can you add any more points in the body? Can you add any more points? Ashwini, Sai, Ria, Abdul, Indusha. Hi Indusha, after so many days. Messiah means nothing but who is like a leader. Yes, they want to protect their tribal identity. Yes, Jesus Christ. He will be leading that so and so movement. So I want to ask you one question. So let me know some tribal movements and their leaders. So at least one or two. Yes, places can be mentioned. Here also you can add a map and you can show this is a main land and this is frontier, and here you can show some, you can point to some areas and you can show what exactly which movement which happened there. Coal uprisings by Bir Buddho Bhagat, Alluri Sita Ramaraj Rampa rebellion, yes. Rampa rebellion. Next, Chaur uprising by Jagannath Singh, yes, good Ashwini. Still, good Vijaya. Munda uprising by Birsa Munda, good Ashwini. Hi Vijaya, welcome to Rathod's IAS, and I think this is your first webinar, I think so. How are you feeling? Whether you are getting bored or not? Sandal rebellion by Siddhu and Kano, yes, good. So, how can you end your answer? So, in conclusion, you can write about, because of this East India Company, because of that laws that came up by this East India Company and this British government, so that led to number of uprisings and as well as disturbances that created in the lives of this tribal people. And finally, they also came up with tribal revolts. So, in this way, you can end your answer. And next question is, discuss the phases of the working class movements in pre-independent India. So first of all, this question is asking about different phases. First you have to know there are three different phases. First you have to know about these three different phases of this working class movement that happened in India, that is in the pre-independence period, that is before 1947. So what might be the cause for this working class movements? So let me know what were the causes for this working class movements. So what were the causes of working class movements? You have to know the causes. Then only you will be stay connected with the topic. Abdul says, ma'am, name of leaders, remembering for each movement may be difficult, but you have to remember at least 10 movements. 10 movements in the frontier and 10 movements in this mainland, because you may get a question in your prelims. Riya says, long work time, okay. Exploitation by Britishers, okay. Low wages, good. Indusha. Abdul says, exploitation, good. Abdul. Any more reasons? Hazardous working conditions, Ashwini, okay. No social security, Sai, yes. Economically, socially, culturally, exploitation, yes. Okay, any more reasons? Okay, good response from your side. Let me know the phases of this working class movements, years. How many of you remembered? No safety precautions, Mahindra. So let me know years of phases of this working class movements. How many of you remember? Abdul, don't remember the period, ma'am. Sorry, okay. So history means you have to remember years, yeah. At least some important moments, years. Ashwini, 1850 to 1819, 1890 to 1918, 1918 to 1947. Very good, Ashwini. Sai says first phase 1850 to 1890. Good, Sai. You gave the first answer. So Ashwini gave the correct answer here, that is 1850 to 1890. This is the first phase. Second phase is from 1890 to 1918, and third phase is from 1918 to 1947. Yes, if you know the years, you can start answer directly. Okay. So what are the reasons here? Actually, this modern working class people, they arose in India with the introduction of capitalism. So we came up with this colonial dispensation during this 19th century. So because of growth, development which we saw, that led to the development of industries in the second half of 19th century in India. So in second half of 19th century, yes, we came up with this industrialization, development of factories, growth of factories, etc. So that led to the people, they started working in this industries, factories, and that led to working class group that evolved during the second century of this 19th, so second or mid of this 19th century. So if we're talking about the phases, we have the first phase from 1850 to 1890. So what were the highlights of this phase 1? So during this phase 1, so what are the movements they were done by these working class people? They were unorganized. So there is no particular thing like, so what step that they are going to take next. So how can they move forward? So actually, so there was no clarity, and those movements are unorganized movements, and because of there was no structure, so most of these movements during this first phase, they were ineffective. They didn't got the much good results, okay, in this movements. And the second one here is they were spontaneous and they were localized movements. Only if, for example, 50 people they are working in that so and so company means, so they started movements. So because of that, what happened? So the most of the times here the movements during this 1950 to 1890, they were localized movements, and even they were spontaneous and they were very short lived. So these are the characteristics of this phase 1. And next one is phase 2. So phase 2 is from 1890 to 1918. So during this phase 2 here, so there was a formation of organization which mainly happened. So because of the formation of organizations, for example, associations, AITUC, okay, that is All India Trade Union Congress. So who were the leaders of this All India Trade Union Congress? So who were the leaders of this All India Trade Union Congress? Let me know in the chat box. Fast. Tilak, only Tilak. Lala Lajpat Rai. Yes. So these two people, Tilak and Lala Lajpat Rai, they were the leaders of this AITUC. So because of formation of this organization, so in this second phase, 1890 to 1918, so what are the movements they did? Yes, they were in an organized manner. And phase 3 is from 1918 to 1947. So after World War, okay, after World War II, yes, there was a different phase that we entered in this working class movements. So most of this unorganized movements, they converted into organized movements in this phase 3, and we also came with number of trade unions. So because of this trade unions, they came into picture, that led to the wide range of movements. Okay, for example, you can talk about Ahmedabad mill strike. Okay, so in this way you can also give some examples in these phases. So any doubts? Any more points can be added here? So in the meanwhile, I will be having a sip of water. So any more points can be added here? So any doubts? Any doubts? So in conclusion, so how can we conclude? So in the last years of this colonial rule also saw a remarkably sharp rise in strikes on economic issues all over the country. So at that time we came with all India strike of post and access telegraph departments, etc. So there were also some examples. Okay, so not only this working this industries and factories, but even the post telegram also they did number of movements. And next question is, with what motives did British introduce English education in India? Discuss what implications did English education have on Indian society at large. Yeah?
Ma'am, could you please reshoot the last slide of the previous question, conclusion part?
Okay, Riya.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
So next question is, what motives did the British introduce English education in India? Yes, Britishers they introduced English education, but why? What might be the reasons? So let me know in which year British introduced English education in India. Let me know which year. Fast. (1835), 1813. This is your homework. I am not going to tell the year. So you have to refer and tell me in the next session. So what are the motives? So what is the idea why Britishers introduced English education in India? So what might be the reasons? I want to get answer from you students. That will help for your recall, memory, etc. To run administration for Western domination. Okay, Redmi note says for Western domination. Is it correct? And civil services to create separate class. Next. Definitely not to uplift Indians. Let me know fast. Any more ideas? Any more reasons from your side? Because to spread their culture and education for domination. Dilkush, hi Dilkush. So Indians won't respect Indian education to support British cause. Yes, I got one relevant answer from Indusha, that is to support the British cause. So this is the first relevant reason. Next, good Indusha. They can't understand Hindi. Mahendra. Even though they can't understand Hindi, so they will be having some the rural area rulers. Okay. So even though they can't understand Hindi, how they developed the trade and how they made India from that condition to raw material supplier. Riya says, with a dream, if rule India another 400 years might be. Okay, I will say the answer.
Actually, I want to mean that Britishers want to stay India and want to rule for another 400 years. Because of that, they want to spread their culture and education.
Okay, I will say the answer. Okay, so actually it is not the correct reason I can say. Okay, so what are the important motives here is, especially when they are introducing English education. So what happened by the mid 19th century is they understand that yes, people they are getting awareness regarding their policies and the movements that started. Either you can talk about tribal movements, either you can talk about peasant movements, and even movements by the normal people and freedom fighters and different movements. Okay, for example, Swadeshi movement, etc. And especially if they want to control Indians. Okay, so they have to appoint Indians as as the some post as an administrator so and so. So because of that, so those people, they will be controlling these Indians to not to come against Britishers. So actually the first one here is they want to serve their administration as well as for political needs. So for their administration needs and for political needs, yes, they introduced English education because they will be getting cheap workers from Indians. So if they want to appoint the Britishers as their administrators, and they have to bring them from the Britishers and they have to keep in their administration, but it will be like a very costly. So if Indians, they know English, then they will be keeping this Indians, especially in some important post. That will helpful to reduce the expenditure of this British government. And the second one here is, so they thought that English education will be very much helpful, that because if Indians, they know this English education, whenever they are appointing these Indians into the administration, and they will be much loyal to the Britishers but not Indians. So these are the two important things or important motives. So apart from that, I can also say that, so because of introduction of this English education, that will also helps to develop Western habits, Western taste, etc. in the Indian. That means they can also helps to exchanging of culture also, or to spread the culture also. Okay, so these are some important motives. So if you talk about how can you write introduction, so introduction you can write about modern education in India, which began in the British rule. So actually before this Britishers also, yes, we have our own traditional education. For example, we have Gurukulams, we have madrasas, etc. So through this we are mainly getting education, right? So after once this East India Company which entered, so for the first 60 years they didn't bother about introduction of English education. But after 60 years they understand about, yes, people are understanding what are the things they are doing. Yes, we have to control Indians and we have to rule India. So because of this, yes, they introduced in modern education, that is English education in our India, and they feel that Indians, they are inferior and they don't have the knowledge, they do not have the language, etc. Okay, so because of that, yes, they introduced English knowledge and they feel that they were civilized. And if you're talking about body, so motives here, the first one is introducing English education was to serve their administrative and as well as their political needs. And second one is they also thought that English educated Indians would be loyal to Britishers, and that will also helpful for the developing of Western habits, tastes, and even they will buy Western goods. So because of this, yes, that led to India became a mere exporter of raw material and importer of finished goods. So this was the one main idea. And if you're talking about what will be the implications, so whenever you're talking about implications or impact, we can talk about both the sides, positive side and as well as negative side. So what are the negatives? So let me know fast. So after introduction of English education, so what are the negatives or drawbacks we faced? What are the drawbacks we faced? Forgot our own culture, good Riya. Destruction of Indian traditional education, good Ashwini. Neglected mass education, good Shiva. Less inclusivity, yes, of course, Indusha. Some educated Indians supported British, yes, Abdul. And one more thing I can say is at that time Brahmins, they were dominated because they used to give the education, but this trend had been at the end. And this one here is, here other people, they also entered into all professions practiced by other castes as well. So because of this, that created issues in our society also. So inequalities grow more, yes, Hina. Yes, destruction of Indian culture and education, monopoly of high class towards education, yes. So most of the points you covered, okay. So let me know what are the positives of this introduction of English education in India. So what are the positives? So let me know. So what are the positives? Enlightened Indian people, yes, good. Indians join government jobs, yes, good Ashwini. Next, Awareness got increased, yes. Awareness about the British policies especially. Yes, services. So means which services, Redmi? Be specific. Okay, civil services. Access to Western literature also. You can also add this point, access to Western literature. Still. So because of introduction of English education, that led to creation of new section of or new class of people that helped to reform our Hindu society. For example, Raja Ram Mohan Rai, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, etc. Is abolition of sati good? Introduction of social reforms, yes. Lenovo good. Yes, Hina says westernization thought add with Indian culture, yes. Literacy, yes, Usha. Yes, most of the points you covered. Okay, so in this way you can write at least 4 to 5 implications of both the sides, negatives and positives. Yes, I am very happy with this session because I am getting good responses from you people. So try to make every session like this. And how can you write conclusion? So you can write conclusion like summing up some important points that you wrote in your body regarding motives and implications. So the introduction of English education can be considered as a blessing in disguise for Indians, just like introduction of railways. So how this introduction of railways which helped India? In the same way here, introduction of English also, it is one of the blessing in disguise. So here if you are talking about introduction of railways, yes, it helped India because at present now, so most of the railways that we have, so it was from our Britishers time itself. But because of this introduction of railways, yes, we have some negatives at that time. Because of this railways, so that led to easy transport of goods from India to other countries, and even that led to easy transport of this police at that time, and they suppress the movements. Okay, at that time here, whenever we are conducting any mass movement, so we would not have a proper facility. But because of this introduction of railways, so at that time, during the Britishers' time, yes, that was very much helpful for the Britishers. In the same way, with the introduction of English education in India, so they also introduced because of their interest. Because they want to get the cheap labor who works in their administration, and they want to control Indians. And whenever Indians they are learning this English, means they will be more loyal to Britishers. Okay, so because of that, so we can say introduction of railways, introduction of English, they have both advantages and as well as negatives. And also they believe that English educated Indians, they would act as interpreters between rulers and as well as to be ruled. So in this way here you can add this conclusion at end. So one request from my side is, please don't end your answer without conclusion. So if you are getting or if you are running out of the time, at least write 1 line or 2 lines at the end. Okay, so any doubts here? Any doubts? No. Okay, let us move on to next question. So this question is the most challenging question, I can say. Discuss the role of women in the freedom struggle, especially during the Gandhian phase. So discuss the role of women in the freedom struggle, especially during Gandhian phase. So how many of you felt this question is easy? Let me know frankly. So how many of you felt that this question is easy? Let me know, it says easy. Yes, okay, great. So how many? How many of you felt that this question is easy? I will ask you one question. How many of you remember or how many of you recall at least 5 names of women who played an important role in Indian freedom struggle? So let me know fast. 5 names of women. At least 5 names of women who played an important role in the freedom struggle. At least 5 names. and I will be giving a party for those students who are giving 5 names at a time. Ashwini Usha Mehta, Rani Lakshmibai, Redmi Anne Besant, Aruna Asif, Sarojini Naidu, Aruna Asif and Anne Besant, Jhansi Lakshmibai, Vijay Lakshmi, I got only 4 names. Maharani Velu Nachiyar, good. Durgabai Deshmukh, Hazra Bhima Bai, Kama, Madam Kama, okay. Okay, you are having good knowledge. So actually this question is very important question, because especially women empowerment is one of the hot topic, and I can say it is also one of the favorite topic of UPSC. So you can expect either essay or question regarding this women empowerment. So every year there will be no question paper of UPSC without this women empowerment or role of women. So either it may be history or either it may be at present, like that. So this role of women is also very important for this year, because our new president, women president. So here in introduction you can write about women's participation. So when did women participated in this Indian freedom struggle? So as early before this 1857 revolt, in 1817 itself, yes, women's participation in this Indian freedom struggle began. So while women, they were involved in the political arena since the foundation of Indian National Congress days. Okay, so women, they started participating in this national movement even before 1817, and they participated especially the participation of women, which increased with the entry of Gandhi into India after 1915. So Gandhi led mass movements, and he also emphasized on women's participation also. So in this way you can write your introduction, and in body you can write about some examples and what was the contribution of this woman in the freedom struggle. So in this way you can write your body, and at least you have to include 5 to 7 women. Okay, 5 to 7 women role and their names and their contributions in your body, so that you can get a good marks. So talking about the first one, you can talk about before Gandhian phase and you can talk about after Gandhian phase. And before Gandhian phase, Bhima Bai Holkar. So she was the first person. Actually, she played an important role. Okay, that is before Gandhian phase. Bhima Bai Holkar, she fought against British colonel. Okay, and defeated him in guerrilla warfare. So you can see the strength of women here, that is Bhima Bai Holkar. And next one is Maharani Velu Nachiyar. So actually she fought against, she fought against British army before 1857. And this one is Rani of Ramgarh, Rani Lakshmibai. I think everyone knows this name, Rani Lakshmibai. And Tapaswini Maharani in the War of Independence, that is in the Great Revolt of 1857. And there was one Muslim woman also participated in this revolt of 1857. So who is her? So what is her name? So one woman, she participated in this revolt of 1857. Muslim woman. Not Razia. Begum Hazrat Mahal. Good Indusha. Okay, you can also add her name, Begum Hazrat Mahal, in this War of Independence, that is the Great Revolt of 1857. In the second phase of women participation, the idea of home rule and constitutionalism became dominant. So what happened? So in the second phase of women participation, we can talk about after Gandhi entered into India. So here Gandhi played an important role in the mass movements. We discussed in our earlier sessions also that Gandhi plays an important movement in the mass movements. So at that time here women, they also participated in this mass movements, especially there were the role of women, especially in the social and women mobilization through their writings. For example, Aruna Asif Ali. And this one is they also participated in this revolutionary movements. For example, Chittagong Armory raid. Okay, And you can also talk about this Kasturba Gandhi. She imprisoned for participating in this Quit India movement. And also you can talk about this Kalpana Dutt. Kalpana Dutt, she participated in this Chittagong Armory raid. And Rani Gudainelu, actually she is in news, and there will be like high possibility of getting question from this area, that is Rani Gudainelu. Okay, she led Naga movement. And finally in INC, so there were number of women participants like Sarojini Naidu, and we have Anna Besant. So Anna Besant, she also led this home rule movement. Okay, and not only that, even Vijayalakshmi Pandit, she actively participated in the civil disobedience movement. So in this way you can write about some example, at least try to add 5 to 7 women, okay, and their role in the Indian freedom struggle. And finally you can write conclusion. So in conclusion, yes, women played an important role in this Indian freedom struggle, okay, from the common person and to the mass movements. For example, from a common persons, okay, for example in during this before Gandhian phase, they came up with a common and they fight against British army. But after that, after here entry of Gandhi, so even women, they led important movements. For example, home rule movement as a mass movement. So because of this, here we cannot forget the contribution of this women's role in this Indian freedom struggle. So what are the contribution they made? It is a measurable and as well as non-quantifiable. So in this way you can conclude your answer. So any more points you can add here? So any more points? Any doubts? Any doubts? Shall we move on to essay? Already it's so late, I guess. Shall we move on to our essay? Yes, Hina, you can write regions where women leaders come. And women's leader, they led movements. And now let us try to see essay. So let me know how many of you attempted this essay first and fast. Ashwini, yes. Abdul, me not. Abdul, you said that you are going to start your answer writing tomorrow, right? Raven says me, Sai says me. Okay, actually this essay is a very good essay. So if you have just knowledge from your basic static and if you follow current affairs, you can write an absolute good essay. So here, dreams which should not let India sleep. So in introduction you can write about importance of dreams, and you can talk about some quotes of famous personalities. So you can start with a question like whether dreams are important. So how dreams play an important role? So what is the role of dreams? So in this way you can also add a question in introduction. So for example, I also came up with a quote. So if you want, so please make a note of these quotes. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. So this quote I like the most by Roosevelt. The future belongs to those who believe in beauty of their dreams. Yes, many of you want to clear this IAS or UPSC examination and to become this IAS IPS, correct? So first you have to dream like how you will be in that post of IAS officer, IPS officer, in that so and so uniform, in that so and so car. Right, after once you dream this, yes, that will motivate you. Okay, so whenever you are feeling demotivated, so whenever you are recalling that dream, like you are moving in a government vehicle, and whenever you are coming out of the car, how people are receiving you, and if you are going to any flag hosting, or if you are going to attend any meeting, or after clearing this UPSC, once you called as a guest to your school or to your colleges, so how the feeling will be? It will be ultimately high. So in this way dreams will be very useful. So the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. And next quote here is, success is the result of perfection, hard work, learning from failure, loyalty and persistence. So this code is about success. Especially I want to motivate you students. So I'm not coming up with this Hindu analysis from past 4 days. So because of this, yes, I got this platform. And on this platform I have to motivate you to write more answers and to read more and to study well and to get conceptual clarity and to reach your goal. So it is my heartful wishes for you students. So success, it is a result of perfection. So first you have to be perfect in the concepts. Yes, hard work is ultimately important and we have to learn from our failure. So if you have not cleared this prelims, you have to know about why you failed prelims. So you have to come up with a new strategy and you have to be loyal to yourself and persistence. So these are the keys for the success. So I hope and I wish my students, they has perfection, they have hard work, they are going to learn from their failures, and finally I want to see your names in the finalist of UPSC. And if you say the body, first of all you have to identify the problems in India. So we can talk about, so first of all I will be giving you the subjects, okay, like from history what can we write, so from polity what can we write, like that. So we can go for the subjectual manner. For example, in the history you can write about how education was present and the transformation that is happening in the education. And the polity you can write about different provisions we came up, different laws we have. And in the economy we can write about recent current affairs. India achieved the place of 5th largest economy, and what are the steps we took and what are the steps can we take in the future. And you can write about the report which says that by 2029 India is going to be the 3rd largest economy. And you can also talk about other subjects like in the science and technology, what are the dreams are there, so what are the things already we did, so what are the future missions that we are going to have. For example, Mangalyaan mission, for example you can talk about this Chandrayaan mission. And next one is you can talk about what are the problems we are facing in our economy or India. So here this is the one way that you can go with subject wise. And in this essay especially we can go and we can pick a issue, and from that issue we can write in the different subjects. So this second method will be very useful. So first one here is, yes, we had a dream of independence. So during this British period, yes, we have a dream of independence. So at that time, yes, we fought, not only dreaming, but we fought and we did a hard work and we did number of movements. You can give the examples, and finally we got our independence. So after getting independence, yes, we are facing number of challenges. So at that time we can talk about princely states, yes, that had been successfully resolved, and now we are facing issue with this Jammu and Kashmir. And we are talking about dream of a safety woman. So it is one of the important thing that we can focus. So we are talking about women's status in our society. We can talk from our ancient period. So in our Vedic period, especially during the early Vedic period, yes, there was greater respect which is given for the women. But this respect had been decreasing when we are coming with this later Vedic period, and after entry of this Muslims. Yes, that led to a great changes. Yes, 1 minute. Yes, 1 second students. Actually there might be some problem. Yeah. Can you see me? Actually there was a small problem because of some network issue. Can you see the screen? Sorry for the disturbance here. Stuck for me, now clear. Okay. So in the body you can write about the issues. You can pick up the issues, and after taking the issues you can analyze them from the different subjects like history, like polity, etc. The first one here is we can talk about safety of women. So safety of women is very important. So here in the safety of women we can talk from our early Vedic period, that is from ancient period time onwards. So in the ancient period or ancient history times, especially during this early Vedic period, there was lot of respect which was given for the women. But this respect which had been decreased in the later Vedic period, and after entry of the Muslims, that is during this medieval period, still there is a decreased value which is given to the women. And after once we got independence, yes, we had number of provisions, especially in our constitution. We have article 14, that is right to equality, and in the post independence time you can talk about what are the things that we can came up. And here if you are talking about the dream of safety women, so if you can also have a chance to talk about what are the challenges that we are facing. For example, if you talk about safety of women, you can talk about domestic violence. And during this COVID-19 pandemic time, there is increasing level of this domestic violence, and even sexual abuse and rapes against children and even women. You can write about recent NCRB data, and you can also talk about different issues like lack of education. There is lack of proper medical resources, female feticides. Okay. So in this way you can write ancient history part, medieval history part, post independent and polity, and here you can also come up with what are the laws which are present in India. For example, we have POCSO Act, Protection of Children from the Sexual Offence Act of 2012, and we have Domestic Violence Act, we have Sexual Harassment at the Workplace Act. So in this way you can write 5 to 6 dimensions just from the safety of women. And next one is corruption free country. So in every level, if you go to any government offices or if you are going to any private offices, yes, there is corruption. And even if you are talking about universities also, if you want to get a medical seat, you have to pay a lot of fees. And there also, if you want to reserve a seat, yes, you have to pay corruption, or if you have to give the corruption in that universities. And regarding this, how can we prevent this corruption? You can write some measures, and you can write what are the reasons for the corruptions also. And next one is terror free country. So if you see our borders, we are sharing boundary with a number of countries, especially with this China and Pakistan. We are facing these terror attacks. Okay, for example, if you see in this Indo-China border, we are having a long standoff that is seen since 2020 onwards. And if you see regarding this India-Pakistan border, yes, we have number of terror attacks, and we are seeing issues regarding violation of ceasefire, etc. And you can talk about Pulwama attack, Uri attack, or Mumbai attack, and recent Hyderabad bomb attacks, etc. in Gokul Chat and Dilshik Nagar. So in this way, here you can write about how we can decrease this terror attacks, and what is the way forward, and what are the steps that can be taken by the government, and what are your suggestions. And you can write 5 to 6 ideas here. And if you're talking about economy, yes, India, it is now the 5th largest economy. We beat this UK, right? And the report which also says that India, it is going to achieve this 3rd position or the 4th position, and you can write those data. So here you have to write about what are the steps taken by India to achieve this position, and what are the things that can we do in our future. So you can give some measures and way forward. And next one is education. So education is also one of the important area. So we have a name that is education for all. So if you can write about some data regarding gross enrollment ratio, and you can talk about ACER report. So whenever you're talking about education, you have to write ACER report of education. And you can talk about National New Education Policy 2020 also. So how it is going to bring some changes in our education. You can talk about some important articles in our constitution which talks about education, that is right to education, article 21A. And you can talk about some important programs which came up by the government, programs and schemes. And next one is health. So health is also one important area. So because of this COVID-19 which entered into our lives, so that said that yes, there are some loopholes in our health services. So we do not have proper infrastructure, especially to store these vaccines. Okay, so and you can talk about this how much expenditure or how much expenditure is done by the government of India in this education and as well as health. So what are the recommendations of different committees? Okay, and you can talk about science and technology development. So you can talk about nanotechnology. Here you can talk about India's progress in the space technology. And also you can talk about India's place in this defense also. So what are the recent developments in our defense sector? Okay, so those things that you can see. And you can talk about one important problem, that is unemployment. So we have to focus on employment, and recently Rajasthan came up with this urban employment guarantee scheme. So actually in India we have this rural employment guarantee scheme, that is MG Narega, but now for the first time here Rajasthan came up with this urban employment guarantee scheme. You can write about that. You can write about employment data in India. So what are the reasons for increasing of unemployment? What are the measures taken already by the government? Different schemes you can add there, and you can also write about the measures, and in conclusion you can come up with the summing up of all these some important things. Okay, so in this way you can write a beautiful essay, and I said like more than 30 dimensions here. So any doubts so far regarding this essay? Do you get confidence now that you can write essay? You can think in the multi-dimensional way. Do you got some idea? Do you got some confidence? So anyone, at least 2 students? Anyone got confidence? Yes, Abdul yes, Riya yes, Sai yes, and Prashant yes. Hi Prashant, after a long time. Revan yes, Ashwini yes. Okay, Indusha yes. So my aim it is to provide you knowledge, and what are the knowledge you have, how to present in the paper, and how to think in multi-dimensional way. So I have to give mentorship in these areas. I hope I am doing that from last 5 weeks onwards for this especially 9th batch. Okay, so if there are any suggestions, so please tell me in the chat box. So Abdul says current affairs whether will be restarted or not. So actually we are not going to come up with this Hindu analysis anymore. So in that place for students, I will be not disappointing you. I will be coming up with the daily PDF. So I will be posting that PDF in our website and even in the Telegram channels, so that you can go to that PDF. So it is promise from my side, I am going to provide the PDFs. And instead of that Hindu analysis, we are going to come up with the series of analyzing previous year's questions of prelims. So that will be very useful. Abdul says this side will be shared. So if you want, we will be sharing, no problem. In the Telegram, if you want, we will be sharing. Okay, instead of current affairs, we are going to come up with this prelims practice question series, and this series will be started by some new faculty, that is 1000 questions for UPSC prelims 2023, and I will be continuing this series of analyzing previous questions of prelims from all subjects. Abdul Hazib, okay, I will continue with this previous year's prelims question series. Riya, please share the link of Telegram group. Yeah, Hina, please text me in WhatsApp so that I will be sharing you the link. Okay, Prashant, we will be sharing PDF from tomorrow at any cost. Okay, Abdul, we will be also sharing this PPT. Don't worry. Okay, I will be sharing in your group itself. Okay, so if you have any suggestions, so please let me know in the chat box. So whether you are improving or not. So I want to know your opinion, whether you are improving or not. So whether you are able to write answers or not. Yes, Abdul says improving. Raven says improving. So whether this session is productive or not. Yes. Okay, shall we conclude? Abdul says 100%. Thank you, Abdul. Prashant says yes, ma'am. Krishna says yes, ma'am. Raven says very productive, ma'am. Okay. Welcome, Krishna. Okay, by this, I am signing up. Thank you so much and good night.